But in addition to that, she has volunteered her time through the Dallas Volunteer Attorneys Program, serving the community through Hurricane Katrina, Legal Clinic, the Housing Crisis Center, the Martin Luther King Center, and the West Dallas Center. She's also volunteered at the CAW Clark Legal Clinic at Fifth Street Baptist Church and currently serves as the monthly legal clinic at Friendship West Church. And with no further ado, we welcome our own Judge Nash.
It's wonderful to be in the neighborhood. As y'all know, I'm a Highland Hills girl, born and raised, Hutch girl, so I don't have to tell y'all that this community means a lot to me. So when Mr. Real asked me, the first time I couldn't do it. Now every month I have a Lions Club meeting in Lancaster on the second Tuesday, but this time I was like, I'm not gonna say no. So I wanted to be here to talk about such an important topic. So before I hand out the agenda, we're talking about planning. The title of my presentation tonight is Planning, Preparing, and Prevention to Protect Your Property and the People You Love. So, can anybody tell me what one of the things we're going to talk about today?
Deeds
and all right, we're talking about some deeds on deeds. So, there's a pencil for you. Who else?
Like you said, wheels.
Wheels. That's the second thing I'm talking about. Anybody got a third?
Estates.
Estates, yeah. I'm talking about how to plan your estate for your family and what you need to make sure you do annually.
Thank you.
Anybody else can guess what we're talking about?
probate. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just want to say, preventing people from coming in and from getting scammed.
That's exactly right. I'm talking about preventing and protecting your property. So we're talking about inventory, and then the constable has her officers here tonight to also further talk about some making sure you're not deprived of your property. So we are talking about that. Anybody else? Any good guesses? Okay, probate. We're going to talk about probate. We're going to talk about end of life and maybe how to avoid probate. Okay. So we want to talk about that because I don't know how many of you know how expensive it is. Anybody went through a probate process, you know it costs a lot of money. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to go through it. And how many minutes do I have, Mr. Green?
You have the whole hour.
Oh, I do?
And guess what? If it's past 7:30, we'll still be here with you.
Okay. And then I won't do that, yes. And then I'm going to go ahead and just hand them back, and then y'all can just pass them. Okay. There we go. So, yeah, I got to give a constable gully my own pencils. But anyway, the students love these pencils. And y'all just make sure y'all, these little gavel pencils, they're good stress protectors. But the first thing I want to talk about, y'all, is powers of attorney. How many of you in here have power of attorney? All right, so we got a couple people that are prepared. I'm going to need all of you by the end of the week to have a power of attorney. And so one of the things I did was I just printed you out for the power of attorney in the state of Texas, that this is what we call a statutory power of attorney. So I'm not going to hand y'all too much stuff today, but we want to talk about a power of attorney. When does a power of attorney operate? Who can tell me when is a power of attorney good? Until when?
Until you die.
Until you die. So once you die, if you'll hand those around, once you die, one of the things is you want to have the power of attorney because it allows, I think that was it, it allows your person that you appoint to be the person who operates for you and makes decisions for you. So you want to have that, and what happens is, you know, people say, well, I'm in good state of mind right now. You can be in a good state of mind right now, but you never know. We can go out, I can have a car accident, and then what? So we want to have somebody who is designated as an agent who will then speak on my behalf. A durable power of attorney is one where you can revoke it at any time, okay? So it only operates when you are incapacitated. So that means that if you appoint your daughter or your son, they can't just go around speaking for you until you are incapacitated. So you do not have the ability to do it for yourself. Now, once you are incapacitated or considered incompetent, you are not able to do it. That's why it is best to do it while you're healthy. You want to have a power of attorney. And there are a couple of kinds of powers of attorney. You know, one, the ones we deal with most is a general power of attorney, which we call a durable power of attorney. And the second one is the medical power of attorney. So when you go to the doctor, they'll always ask you, well, do you have a take care of your medical affairs. Because if you're in a coma, who's gonna speak for you?
Yeah.
So you really need to designate. So I've had people to ask me, okay, Judge, I got 2 kids. I wanna make them both agents. Is that a good idea?
No.
Yes or no? No, it's not a good idea. Because what if the 2 of them don't agree? Then you're left in the same position you would have been had you not had it. You have to make a good decision. Sometimes we have some kids who make some good sound decisions, and some of our kids don't. Let's just be honest. So I understand you did the best you could. The best I could. But not all the time will they make the best decisions for you. So I will tell you, you need to designate a time this month and have a conversation and designate an agent, whether it be your best friend, whether it be your daughter, your sister, but someone who is going to be dependable, who is going to be there, and who you know will carry out your wishes as you'd like them to do, okay? So make sure it can be, well, if you don't designate it, probably won't be right. Yes. Well, because sometimes what happens is if your spouse, sometimes y'all are in the car together. And so you have to realize that y'all may be in the same predicament. And so it presupposes that you and your spouse may end up in a situation at the same time because most spouses kind of hang out together. So you want to make sure that an agent is going to be somebody, it can be your spouse, but also it gives you an opportunity to appoint an alternate. And you want to have an alternate if you do not have your spouse as the next person. Because just like you said, that is the most reasonable person that you normally would have if you trust their decision making. But also remember that if you have a husband who's gonna go crazy and can't do it and break down, I mean, you really gotta know that everybody can't make decisions like that, right? And so if the doctor says we've had 3 opinions, you know, we can't do anything else, brain dead, we gotta make a decision, and you know that your husband's not gonna be able to do that, that's why you have to have someone who is gonna be strong enough, and you've already told them, look, I don't wanna be on anybody remember the Terry Shiloh case where she was kept alive for 1 million years, and she was on that feeding tube, and she could not do anything? And so they went to court after, it was years, y'all, it was like 17 years. And I read the book on that, and I met the person, the judge in that particular case. And it is a very difficult decision, but you gotta get somebody who's gonna be reasonable and rational in case where, you know, if you're gone, we're all going. You gotta know now, y'all know, but you better know where you're going. But we all going. So I'm telling you to make sure you appoint someone who's gonna be reasonable to do that. The next thing, y'all, I want to talk about is your last will. So remember, the power of attorney operates while you are alive, but after you pass away, you cannot start saying, well, I got the power of attorney. It is no good. It's done. So then your will kicks in, okay? So a last will and testament. And people say, well, you know, I don't want to do that. I'm going to tell you, the source that you need to look at is Texas Law Help. Texas Law Help is a resource that everybody uses. The government uses it. It's a free resource that has forms. And so again, a lot of you are very technically savvy. If you don't want to hire an attorney to do it, if you want a simple will that says, you know, I'm going to split my kids, it'll show you, it has a template for you to be able to do all of the above. It has the power of attorney, it has all of those things designated for you. So it's called Texas Law, TEX Law Help, TexLawHelp.com. And it has everything that I'm talking about today. So it has those different things. I will tell you that in the last will and testament, when you have that, you want to designate an executor. An executor is that person, again, that's going to be reasonable and carry out the wishes you have. Remember, y'all, that if somebody doesn't want to deal with, you know, I want my property to stay around forever, I don't want y'all to stay in my house, well, you're going to be gone. And so you got to make sure it's the person that if you want John to continue to live in your house, but John not going to pay the taxes, you have to be real clear that, you know, that person who is appointed as your executor may sell it and then give John whatever the proceeds are or what have you. But you got to be able to trust your executor making good decisions because they have a power of attorney of sorts. It's not called that, but they get the same kind of power of attorney rights under the will that allows them to sell the property, to invest in the property, to do whatever they want to do with it. So remember, your executor has wide sweeping authority to do a lot of different things. So before you appoint your executor, make sure it's a person that you can say, I know they're going to do the right thing with it. But again, if you have minor children, you can handle all those things under a will. And you can say who you want designated, against presupposing that spouses are going to be deceased together. But of course, you can't override the other spouse and say, well, I want my kids to be raised by X, Y, and Z, because again, the last will and testament, it's just good to have. In your last will and testament, we have now what it's called a muniment of title. The muniment of title, the biggest parts of property that we have is going to be our home. That's it. So when people start thinking about, man, the home is really the biggest asset that you have, the legislature started looking at that and saying, we got to create something. It's cost $10,000 plus to probate a will. By some people, when you have money in the bank, and I'm getting too ahead of myself, but you have money in the bank and the person only had, just say $1,000. Well, it's still your $1,000. And it still belongs to your mom or whoever. But you can't get it because it costs $5,000 to get the $1,000. And so that brings me to tell you that this is something you do this week. It's called payable on debt. Who has a payable on debt? Thank you. Anybody else know that on your bank accounts, that if you have Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, you name it, when you sign up for their account, they never ask you who your beneficiary is. Because you know why? They know you're going to leave that money in the bank. Right. You're not going to, and it's going to take forever to get it out because they're going to say, well, where's your airship? It's not the airship affidavit that you want to just go to the library and print out. They want you to go get a court order to show that you have a right and are entitled to that $1,000. And it takes so much money. Wow. So I got good news. The legislature has now created where, number one, all of you can do this week. You go to your institution and say, listen, I want to add a POD. If you don't remember payable on debt, I want to add a PO, beneficiary to my account. That beneficiary does not get to look into your account, does not get to access your account, only has to present your death certificate in order to be able to get it. And I'm telling you, when you go to John Beck, with my good friend, John gonna want some money up front, y'all. So they can't wait on the insurance company for 6 weeks. And so typically that is readily available money that you can get out of the bank and be able. But as soon as you tell the bank that the person has died, guess what they do? Freeze the money. Exactly. They will close it off until you provide a court order. But if you are the POD, presentation of your death certificate is going to get you that money. They cannot deny it. Wow. Who gonna go get a POD this week? Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
What have their name on the account?
So if it's a joint account, you can still name a beneficiary. However, they will not be the POD. They don't need to be listed because they already have access. You get it? So you have access, but you still want to, because remember, if this beautiful couple here, they're in the car, unfortunately, and together, unfortunately, then they still want to have a beneficiary of their account in case. Okay? So the joint person can go in, access, look at it, take out. That's not what a POD is. Only on death do you begin to have rights if you're the POD. Okay.
I was going to ask, could you do the POD and then have it, like I got 3 kids, and I say
You
third,
can
3 and
split
a third.
3 ways.
Okay.
It does not allow, you do not have to have one. I have twins. So it does not mean that I have to put one twin over the other. I can put both of them, 3 of them, 6 of them. You can do that.
Okay.
So Jackson,
yes, now, I have my mom as my POD, and
Yes.
when I do my statement, her name is on my bank account.
So, yes.
On the statement.
That's perfect.
And it's the POD.
So you know, and that's what I think Bank of America does.
It's Bank of America.
Yes, so they have started now letting you know that you designated a POD. And they'll, every year, they're gonna send you an email for you to update. If you wanna update it, which you need to, if you choose your birthday, you choose Christmas, you need to choose an annual day of each year to look at all of your assets, all of your beneficiaries, all of your will, everything. Choose a day. It can be your birthday. But you want a POD. Bank of America, I have Bank of America. So they have just started, they just probably started that 3 years ago. It wasn't always, but they tell you who your designated POD is. Now, Wells Fargo, Chase, they may not do it, but I'm telling you, you do not automatically have a POD until you go to that bank and you have to fill out the paperwork. So it's not something that's automatic, and they won't let you do it online. Brittany?
If I have minor children, like I have a 15 and a 3, and I list them as my POD, do they have to wait until a certain age, or will they have to have like an adult with them?
So what happens with that, because I have listed, my kids are minors as well, and what happens is, if it designates an age, it'll ask you who the guardian of that person's estate is going to be.
Okay.
And that means that you can still do that, but what happens is, if you pass away, the guardian of who the baby is going to be, that person is going to be able to have that money in trust for them. So it doesn't stop you, or if it will, it'll tell you too young, or it'll give you a note, but it doesn't stop you from making them, designating that they split 50-50 your accounts.
Okay.
In each account, you can do a POD on, or you can just say all accounts. So it can be on, but I suggest that that's something you can do right away. And you should, absolutely, absolutely. You should go right away to put a beneficiary on those accounts. So, yes, Mr. Mayor.
You said about if you have, I'm gonna just say 2 or 3 children.
Yes.
And you put all of them on as the POD, what then happens, each one gets 1/3?
So yes, so the designation is going to be in equal shares unless you designate otherwise. So the county, Dallas County, because all of you may have some retirement benefits, 401k, remember, those things aren't handled in your will. Those things are done, that's what we call non-testamentary. And those are done by designation, so they're more contractual. So you designate on your job, you designate who you want to be your beneficiaries. And so you can say, I want John to have 50%, and I want Valencia to have, you want 60, and Valencia to have 40. But you can do that. And I don't know what your institution's rules are, but typically, if CW has 3 kids, and then he puts all 3, then it's going to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And they'll all have to present a death certificate and an ID.
That's on automatic.
Yes, for them to be able to get the account, because you don't want to go through a probate process.
Gotcha.
If y'all can avoid probate, yes ma'am, you have a POD question.
If you have beneficiaries, do you still need POD?
If you have beneficiaries, well, that is what it is.
Okay.
So the POD is the beneficiary. So if all of the banks call it paid on debt, payable on debt, or POD. But again, that's the designation. What a POD is the designation of the beneficiary that you want to list to get your account upon your debt. Okay? So another thing I wanted to talk about is, one thing I don't want you all to do, I really don't want you to have to go to probate. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming. It does require a lawyer. Probate courts do not allow you to come and represent yourself. So you have to hire somebody. And that's not an easy task or an easy feat. Like I said, one of the biggest things that all of us have is going to be the home. And what Texas has done now is a transfer on death deed. Anybody heard of a transfer on death deed?
TOD.
TODD.
TOD.
Transfer on death deed. So a TODD, how many of you have them?
I'm working on it.
That's awesome.
I'm working on mine.
I'm so proud of you. Yes. So if you have a transfer on death deed, that simply means that you have already transferred your property while you're alive. It is okay to do. You still own it. You own it until the day you die. And what happens is you gotta file it with John Warren's office now.
That's right.
You can't do it later because it's null and void. But if you trade, so don't do it and then they sit on it. You go pay whatever the $20 is to go ahead and file it, but it's a TODD. Now, I didn't print a whole lot of copies, but I do have some. Let me give you those. So the transfer on death deed, that's how it looks. It's a form where you designate who you want. If CW want all 3 of his children, it's 3, he can do that. If you just want the baby to do it, really, you can do that. It can be 1 person, it can be 5 people. You designate who you want. And what happens, same thing, they take that certificate, death certificate, to Judge Warren's office, it is transferred without the need for you to go to probate. You done saved $20,000. Who happy about saving $20,000? You done saved $20,000. I know that's right. But I'm telling you all, these are things that we have to empower our community. We have to tell everybody. You don't just keep it to yourself. Tell your sisters, tell your cousins. This is what you, all this stuff right here, text, textlawhelp, textlawhelp.com. That form, if you can fill it out on textlawhelp.com, it's a fillable form, and print it out and have it notarized.
Judge Nash,
Yes.
I'm gonna make this one statement. I apologize to everyone here. I worked at City Hall today, came in, Ms. Harris told us that our printer is not working.
Oh, how many more?
And so what I'll do is,
Okay.
I'm gonna get the copies that Judge Nash.
Then email them out.
There you go, Judge.
And I'm gonna give you where it is, where they can just go online, and it's fillable, so they don't even have to print it out.
Okay.
It's textlawhelp.com.
Yeah, and then
That's
those
where I got these.
who can't get them emailed, you know, you come to the office and we'll print them out for you too.
And I'm sorry about that, y'all. I should have asked Mr. Real how many to expect.
That's okay, because we don't know.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And I'm just telling y'all, Text Law Help ends in GOV. That's a good website, I'm telling you. I would not give y'all a website that is not. So Text Law Help is in the power of attorney form, also is from a governmental website. So I'm just telling you, I'm not saying I'm a lawyer, okay? I'm a lawyer in 3 states. Howard Hills girl. I'm licensed in Florida, Georgia, and Texas. And I love for y'all to have a lawyer. But I'm just telling you, everybody can afford a lawyer. And there are some things that I don't want you to use the excuse that I can't afford a lawyer. I want you to be empowered to know where you can get this and still do it on your own. On your own. Okay? So now there's 3 pieces of advice. Y'all gonna have a power of attorney before the week's up. Y'all gonna do the transfer of deed on debt. Y'all are gonna do the payable on debt at the banking institution, right?
Right.
All right. And then y'all are gonna get a last will and testament. Who's gonna type up their will and who's gonna write out their will? Okay, good. I want y'all to type it up because let me just tell you, holographic wills, which are in writing, are valid, but I just prefer you to have a valid will. And so there are too many templates online that are fine. You can do it. I promise you can. And I will tell you, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and we have come to right here to this office and prepared a gazillion wills. And you won't believe that some of those people have passed on. So Tanel has been gracious to allow us to do that, and I'm not the social action chair because I'm real big on you taking care of your estate affairs. So we would have those, but it's a new chair, so I can't tell them what to do. But it was such a great idea when we had our impact days, but I mean, we had, were you here? We had an office full of people, and some of them have passed on. And so I'm just saying, you just feel like, man, I'm so glad we were able to provide the service. And I've heard from the kids, and and it's just like, that was just so incredible. And I'm hoping that we can continue. So I was really great. That's why I didn't want to miss it, because it's so important for us to do it. And some of this stuff is so easy, you all. And I'm telling you, it's not that bad. It's not going to cost you a lot of time, and it's certainly not going to cost you a lot of money. And some of this stuff you can just do on your own. Okay? And so does anybody have, before I move on, power of attorney, last will and testament, PODs, and transfers?
I have a question about the power of attorney. Do you need 2 power of attorney? One for general and one for medical, or can one do both?
So I do have a form where one does both, but I gave you the form that's in the Texas statutes.
Okay.
So the form that I gave you, that's what you'll find in the statutes, and I'd rather you have that, so you don't have any issue.
Okay.
And so you would want to do a medical, and your doctor has one. So you can ask your doctor, let me have the medical power of attorney form, and you can do it right there. They're having nurse notarized. Any more, okay, let me see if I do. I'm sorry, y'all, like I said, I didn't really. Any more powers of attorney, did we take it? Okay, I may have to send y'all one.
That was the
Statutory durable, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so she's going to send that to you if you left her email, I'm sorry about that. But yes, that's the one that's in the code. So if you want to go ahead and take care of that, you can do that. And again, it requires either 2 witnesses or a notary. And so again, you can find a notary anywhere. Let me just tell y'all a piece of news. Judge Jones and I notarize every day. We don't charge anybody for that. The county pays for that. You pay for the county building. If you need something notarized, go up there. Just make sure you don't sign it before you get there. They can notarize it for you. Okay? They can notarize it for you. So the power of attorney just requires, the notary in front with your signature or 2 witnesses. So it doesn't require both. So just read through it. But again, Text Law Help, where I got that from, will tell you the instructions and directions of how you need to do it. Okay? Any questions on that? So I'm going to move on to the annual review, I think I told y'all that if you have retirement benefits, 401ks, pension plans, all of those things you need to review, just say on your birthday. But just make sure that mama hadn't passed away. And so then you have mama still there. I will tell y'all that, true story, there was a couple that got divorced. He did not change his beneficiary.
Whoa.
She got the money. And I'm just saying, he may have wanted her to get it,
Yeah.
but some companies do not have a clause where where they suggest that you are predeceased the person. See, some companies are like, doesn't matter if you change it or not. If the person passed away, you can't get it because you are no longer married. But some companies, they don't bother it. It's up to you because that may be the father of your child, and you still wanted him to have it. So they're not going to get into all that. But I'm just telling you, that's why I say review. Review your will, review your power of attorney, review your beneficiaries every year because things change. People pass on. People become disabled. People become, you can't have someone who's the executor of your will if they're not competent to be there. So you want to make sure you do that. You can also file your will for safekeeping for $5, y'all. Did y'all know that? Who knew that? You knew that? Look at that. Yeah, $5. Nobody can see it. But what happens is if you go under DallasCounty.org, you do an online search, you type it in, it'll say Valencia Nash will indexed. It'll just tell you how to will on file. So that means that if your house burns down or anything happens, it is there for safekeeping. And it's just, nobody can look at it. So the only people that can get it, executor or you. And so again, if you update and you have changes, then certainly you can go and update it and refile it or what have you. But it keeps it from Judge and saying, you didn't let me out of that will. So I'm just saying, y'all know y'all got some judges.
That's what I was
So
gonna
how
ask.
do you file it?
So it's a 22nd floor, 1201 Elm is where they are housed at this point. So that's a temporary county building. It's the 22nd floor. It's where all probate happens. In 1201 Elm Street, 22nd floor, it's at the desk, $5, safekeeping. They give you a receipt. They give you a sheet that says will deposit, and it's $5. Real easy. It takes 5 minutes.
Doing it that way, would that kind of squash, the probates, and all that good stuff?
If you have transferred your property, you have put your PODs on your bank accounts, what else is it? The car?
Right.
The car, maybe? So I'm just saying, you want to get everything you out of it, so it doesn't matter. If you still owe on the car, let them deal with it. If you pay for the car, then your will is going to cover who you wanted it to go to. You see? But again, if you're doing a muniment of title, that's a key word, it's called a muniment of title. M-U-N-I-M-E-N-T. Yes, I want to spell it the Kidney Curry High School. I did. Okay, I'm not right. I'm spelling champ. 51 years of running. Okay, no, but anyway, muniment of title, if that's in your will, then you file it at John Warren's office, and everything you have in there, whether it's still the house that you didn't transfer, like I told you, or the car, whatever, then that's proof positive that you did not want it to go through probate. Because you can say, I don't want this to go through, I want everything here done. It costs too much. And you still gotta get an attorney just to file it in the court to say you don't want it probated. So it's still gonna cost some money. So what I'm saying is, I still want you to have a will, but I want you to make sure that all your assets are taken and given away before you even have to get somebody to probate. Y'all get me? Okay. All right, so again, we did the annual review, the inventory. Yes.
At night, late, they run this thing about people being able to steal your deeds and take your deeds.
I started on Channel 8 News.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, how do you prevent that?
Annually, when you go to your beneficiary status, you're gonna go to Dallas County Appraisal District. It is Dallas County, it used to be DCAD.org, but now it's Dallas CAD. You gotta put DallasCAD.org, we use it every day. So y'all know that I'm the justice of the peace. Y'all elected me way back 17 years ago, right? So I used to do, evictions I do every day, unfortunately. But what I have to do in my evictions, I have my clerk. This is not something required of me, but I do it. We run the Dallas CAD for every property we do. You know why? For that reason. So there used to be a scam artist. He'd come, he'd meet people in the hallway, and then he'd get, file cases. And then y'all may have read about it, but it happened a lot in Lancaster. He was purporting to be the owner of property. And he would, you can change it. So what happens is investors. So investors live in California, Nevada, they live everywhere. So they don't ever come and look at the house. Some of them have property managers, some of them don't. So they buy the property, but they never man it. And so people are going in, changing the locks, Airbnb-ing them out. They would rent them out, and the people have an actual lease agreement with the people's name on. They're giving the people money, the whole nine, to set up an account. So now what we do is, one thing you know of how your property is your property, you go to dallascad.org. It better say Valencia name. It better not say anybody else's name, but you got
People actually lose their property, and they.
Well, you shouldn't be losing your property, because I tell you, if you don't get that tax statement every year,
Exactly.
I mean, something ain't right. Now, even if you don't have to pay, y'all know if y'all not getting that opportunity to protest those taxes, something ain't right. You better get that every year. So I need y'all to be informed. You gotta get the tax statement. Yes,
And I was gonna say, cause I signed I think at the record, department, you sign up and they will email you if there's been any
activity, they do now. But I'm saying back in the day, you really didn't have to do them, because people weren't doing what they're doing now. They're doing it. Now they are Airbnb. You wouldn't believe all the stuff I get to see. But I'm telling you, Dallas CAD is golden.
I know
It
it's church
is.
in Lancaster. The man just took the church from the people.
I think that man was deceased. I think the original owner had passed away. Is that the one she's talking about? Yeah. And then it was a lot of, he had a lot of property. And they took over all his properties and claimed that he had signed them over. So, yeah, so I had one of those cases and it went up higher. But yes, you have to be careful. And y'all, if you don't get that tax statement, they send that thing like clockwork. Just like you gotta pay them property. Before the 31st. But it's like clockwork, so you know if you haven't gotten it, you can always just ease your nerve and say, every blank I'm gonna check. But you should get some indication. So if you're at your home, it's people who are not there. It's people where you bought property in another state that you can't man. So they normally take advantage of those people who just would never come. So it's not your everyday person who's living there. And you certainly know. And I will tell y'all while we're on this topic, I think in Highland Hills, this company went around and made everybody do a reverse mortgage, including my mother.
Yes.
And I will tell you, I had my school teachers, I would see everybody, like, what is going on? And we were so glad we learned that my mama did it. And we were like, if you don't pay that thing back, because again, y'all, I think, who was the money man? What's his name? What's the money man name? You know what I'm talking about, the guy that writes all the books.
Oh, yeah,
Rich.
What's his name?
Rich.
No,
Dave Ramsey.
Ramsey. So Ramsey always talks about how wonderful a reverse mortgage can be if you need readily available money. And I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a CPA, so let me make that disclaimer. But our community, we have to understand that balloon payments are not what you expect to do. So I think that when you say readily available money, you're like, yes, because I can pay for my medication and this. But what you don't realize is that you're putting basically another lien on your house that you worked for. You already paid it off. So you have to ask yourself, you're going to put that on a paid off home?
That's right.
And so what they say is, you don't have to pay anything else, and you can get this money now. So that if you wanted to leave it to John is going to have to pay all this money at a lump sum within 6 months to 1 year. It's not going to be able to do it. Who has that? And I ain't got it. I'm just telling you who in this community is thinking that that's what's happening. And so you get half of the information. That yes, I have the money for you now, but you don't realize later this home that you just broke your back to pay for, you worked it hard and your hard-earned money, and so you want to pass it on for generations or whatever, it's not going to be there anymore. And so I just want you all to be careful about anything that sounds too good to be true. It typically is. So please, before you do a reverse mortgage, understand what that means. Understand if you do you want your bathroom redone. Be very weary of home improvement loans. I have my roommate's mom calling me, oh, Valencia, they didn't say I had to do. they will put a lien when
On
you
your
can't
house,
pay
right.
it. And you never know what may happen. And most of this community, especially our seniors, are on a fixed income.
That's right.
So you don't have this money that's just rolling in and you just don't. So please do not get scammed by loans and home equity loans and reverse mortgages, whatever they call it. Home improvement, it's all really the same. Because you don't want anybody who has the ability. You're signing over a deed and something's not right about it.
Yeah.
Never sign over your deed or your house to anyone for any small amount of money. Your house, if you've lived over here, as long as my parents have lived over here, of course you see your taxes, these houses have tripled in cost. And so, what you pay for it is not what it is, but you don't want to just get this little bit when you have that increase is because of what you did over the years of paying for your home. So be very careful before you sign over your home to anybody, okay?
Judge, Nash, before you go, again, you just brought up an excellent point. I brought my parents here, they live over there at 7642 over on the trail, but their house, my grandmother's house is 3608 Golden Hills, right across the way.
Yeah.
Grandmother did the same thing, just died 2 years ago. Wow. She just did the same thing, reverse mortgage,
Yeah.
fixed income, work, school teachers, same
School teachers,
thing.
my parents too, yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, my mom didn't, I hope she don't go into the whole spell over and start about to cry now.
Oh, yeah.
We have a property over in South Dallas that is in the state of, and we have, my mother has cousins, and she's the last remaining, and everybody's all over California, and it's in the state of. How do we get that property, out of the estate of?
So that's the thing. This is why we are here.
Wow.
Because there is nothing anybody can do until it gets out of the estate of. And so what has to happen is probate. So you've got to get a lawyer. You're going to have to do a determination of heirship. I'm telling y'all, this can be very expensive if you don't get DVAP. I told y'all I work for, I volunteer for a lot of people, but it's not hopeless. But you can go to Dallas Volunteer Attorney Program. They have different clinics. They still have them in West Dallas. They have them in MLK as far as I'm concerned. And Friendship West, they do theirs online. So DVAP, Dallas Volunteer Attorney Program, will assign it to a lawyer, but what you need is a probate. And what happens is they have to determine who the heirs are, meaning that all of the heirs that you know, there are sometimes heirs that you don't know because, you know that there are some extra kids. I'm just trying to be real, y'all.
Keep it real.
But unfortunately, there are some blended families going. And so those extra kids, but heirship is that you got to get everybody in one room and determine who's the next heir. And then if that heir has passed away, then they're heirs. So it becomes very convoluted when you really don't have it in writing.
Right.
So just think, the determination, last I remember doing one, it was about $300. So that's probably about 6 years ago. So it's probably up to
$3,000.
$350 or $500. But that in itself is a piece. Plus you gotta file the probate. You gotta get the letters testamentary. It's like 6 pieces to it. But you gotta go to probate.
And
And they will not allow you to go in there without a lawyer.
And probate will cost how much?
Probate is expensive, so you got to get the letters testamentary, and you got to do determination, so every piece of it costs. So the application cost, the determination of heirship cost, I don't have it, but I can send it to you. I can send you the fees for Dallas County, it costs, and then you got, again, hopefully there are no minors, because if there's a minor, they're gonna appoint them a lawyer, that costs. I'm telling you, we don't want you there. We want you to take care of your business, but I'm telling you, if you do the probate definitely to get that out of that so y'all can move on with life. That's the only way that's gonna work. It can be done. And you wanna get somebody who's very skilled at probate and knows how to get you in and out. You don't wanna stay there for a long time. But if you have that will, you don't have to determine heirship. You don't do any of it because you've already told them. You've already said A, B, C, D, and E are my kids.
Okay.
But if you don't have a will, you gotta now, who are your kids? We don't know that for a fact. How many people were you married to? Your will is gonna tell who you were married to, when you were divorced. It's gonna say how many kids you have. It's gonna tell them everything they need to know, so you don't have to do all of that. And somebody has to go in and discover all of that, or you have to put a commercial record in the newspaper. You don't wanna go through that.
Can you give me
The next thing I
that,
want
can you give me that
to do-
website again, text law what?
Textlawhelp.com, texlawhelp.com.
So is it text law on this website? Well,
They don't really refer, but you know, if you need a good lawyer, you want to call Dallas Barr or J.O. Turner, depending on, you know, but you want somebody who deals with wills and estates. You just don't want a lawyer. But Dallas Volunteer Attorney Program, what they do is they have classes on what you do. They help you, so if you take a pro bono case, most lawyers do pro bono every year, and they'll take it on a pro bono case basis, and then they will assign you a lawyer, which is really good too.
Dallas Volunteer.
Attorney Program.
my text law help don't come up.
Okay, let me show you.
Was it that good?
Yeah, it should be X.
Should be-
TEX, not Texas.
Not Texas.
Yeah, TEX.
Okay. I got TEXLAWHELP.
.com.
.gov or .com?
Put .com, let me see. if-
I did .com. it was
Right,
coming up.
Okay, did anybody pull it up? Let me make sure it works, because I want to give y'all the right one. Text, law, help. Yep, .org. It's .org.
Well, that makes a
Texas-
difference.
It is Texas. TexasLawHelp.org.
Okay,
So to spell out Texas, lawhelp.org. And I'm gonna make sure I send them too, so that way the email list can get everything.
oh, it's still Texas all the way out.
Yeah, spell Texas all the way out.
I
Okay,
got one question. On the reverse mortgage, how do you find out? Because once they do that, they pass away, they never tell you, the parents.
Yeah, they don't, so what happens next, they know when they passed away, because you'll get something in the mail from one of the companies. It'll be a law firm, or it'll be a company that did the reverse mortgage requesting you for payment. And it's like a mortgage, so it's gonna be a mortgage. So it's gonna be monthly, and they're gonna tell you when the due date is and how much that due date
And
is.
they're supposed to do that monthly?
No, I'm saying it's like a mortgage that comes monthly, but this will be a bill that tells you have your 6 months up to a year, because the reverse mortgages have different terms on them, but they are ballooned. So it's kind of like if you don't pay it, then you lose that home. So a lot of times it's not giving you an opportunity to then start paying it like you would a mortgage monthly. It is just a balloon payment.
And they're not giving you any information, and it's going from one company to
Because they don't want you, you know what they want?
They want the house.
That's what it
So
is.
you
At
got-
the end of the day, that's what I'm telling y'all, they don't expect for you to have the ability to pay it.
Right.
So that's it. You know, that house is basically when you sign it, it can be gone. But what they don't realize, there are gonna be some people who are able to just go ahead and write that check and be done. Like I said, my mom did it, thank God. But you know, it's just not what you expect, but people, it's taking advantage. But they did. I think they went all the way up and down Tioga Street, up and down it, because I saw people that I've been knowing since I was born coming in court and unfortunately being evicted because they no longer had the ability to keep it because of the reverse mortgage. So again, it happens.
And when they move it, the only thing you can do is sell the property.
There is an option to sell if you don't go ahead and pay off the deal.
Right.
But the point is that you don't really have the ability if they already have the deed on it. And if you don't pay the money, it's theirs. So they don't have any other thing to do. They don't have to. They have the paperwork saying that it was signed over by the original owner, and they are now in possession of it because the person has passed away. They just don't expect for you to have the amounts of money to pay. And I will tell you, there have been some reverse mortgages where the person is still living. And so you say it's for a term, but what if you outlive the term and you're still here? And then you can't pay the balloon. So y'all know balloon payments. A lot of people lost their home in balloon payments. You never wanted a payment that ballooned because there was no guarantee. And during that time, a lot of people lost their job. You can't remember that. I know I'm not just, y'all know somebody. Okay. So I'm just telling you, if you need me to tell you no again, you better call me or come up with poetry. All right, so the next thing I want y'all to be aware of is inventory. So this is what Constable Gully would say if she were here, is that we do a piece where you need to inventory all of your property. So at home, we can never know when somebody's gonna break in our house. I mean, it's just sad, but it is just reality. And so one of the things that you can do to help law enforcement is if you have all of your electronics listed and you have the serial numbers.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Not just listed, but the serial numbers. And guess what, even better? Take a picture of it. Get your cell phone out click, and you can just have those pictures stored in your cloud or whatever source you have to store that. Send it to somebody, sister, friend, but have it. So that way, because you don't even have to write it down, that's old school. Old school. Write it down, but you know, those others so little I can hardly see, I'm like, let me just click on that television, your iPad, laptop, your cell phone has it in there already. Every electronic you have, your Xbox, the PlayStation, whatever you bought your kids, all of that, because what it does, that's what people come in for. They're coming in for. And if you have jewelry, go ahead, because what happens is, and I give it up to Lancaster. Lancaster has recovered so much property, I swear they have a property hearing every week in my court. And they go to these pawn shops, and as long as you have sufficiently identified, they're going to pick it up. Pawn shop can't keep it. And I have delivered so much property there.
Wow.
And I went down and started doing the same thing. I know they're not here. But you know, it's leads online, y'all. But you just go in there, they see it's there, they go pick it up for you. I mean, that is like the best feeling that you hate to be violated and invaded. But here you are, officer, here's my list. You have helped them. That's 7% of it, y'all. They just gotta go pick it up, have the property hearing, and now give it right on back to you.
And let me just, you know, so that's a little bit different note. What you just said about the photos, that helps even with insurance, in case of fire or whatever.
You wouldn't believe how much that's happening.
Because you can't show anything.
But if they can see, bless you, if they can see it and you have the identifying numbers, you have done most of the work. So please, be diligent, y'all. Medication list. How many of you got the medication list on your refrigerator? Come on, y'all. You got it in your purse. Okay, but you got it in your phone. Can I get in your phone?
Oh.
So, what am I going to do? Now, you pass out right here. Who don't let me get in this phone? You don't want to pass.
Oh, my wife can get in my phone.
Don't stay there. You got to save your life right now. And I got to tell Fire Station 54 that you want a blood thinner, that you want this, you want that, so they can give you this. You see what I'm saying? Do it today. If y'all on medication, if y'all on a blood thinner, this high blood pressure medication, all this stuff, okay. Old school, write it down. New school, type it up. But I'm gonna need that to be on your refrigerator. And you know why? Because when the paramedics comes to the house, whoever's there can just say, here it is. You know how many times they have loved me when my mom was still here, boy, I was like, here it goes. And you can make little ones that you can tear out. Okay? And you can say, here you go. Take me right on the bag. We come out get in my list, y'all. And so they know what exactly that Nash is doing and what I have, so that I can, you know, they can go from there. But again, y'all don't realize the importance. It sounds little. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, especially if you're on those blood thinners or anything that has an interaction with something that the paramedics may need. If you have an allergy, what if you need an EpiPen? I mean, those things are necessary. Those could save your life.
That's right.
Put it on your refrigerator. We can't get in your phone. I know it sounds good in theory, but we can't get in it. Can't get in it. So medical-wise, I'm going to need you to have the doctors, telephone numbers, the medicine, the dosages, and I need your emergency contact, all of it on your refrigerator. Do it, y'all. Do it today. How many going to do it today? Tomorrow, this week. Okay, all right. And so again, the list of doctors and conditions, I told y'all that. So isn't that just some easy stuff though, y'all? Isn't it all doable?
Yeah.
Can we do this? So one of the things I did put on the list that I want to talk to you about is every time you go to the doctor, they say, well, do you have a DNR? You're like, dang, you ain't really, why they keep forcing a DNR? And everybody know what a DNR, do not resuscitate. So they want to know if you have that, especially if you have conditions like cancer, diabetes, or some things, I don't know, it's just community-wide, they are just, do you have a DNR? And a DNR, you know, you want to be careful about it, and I do have some samples, and I'll again send the website. But a do not resuscitate, you can have it, you can talk to your family about it, and see if that's what you want to do. But what it is, like my mom, for instance, she had a feeding tube. She had a stroke, so she couldn't swallow or eat. And so they ended up having a feeding tube, but she could talk, she could, say who she is. She had dementia. But again, everything may not be required a DNR, because if she had a DNR, they would have given her a feeding tube. She would have just had to go. But when I talked to you about Terry Shiloh, who didn't have the mental capacity, brain activity, so she had a feeding tube, but she was just what they call a vegetable. So you see that there are two different things that can be true, which both have feeding tubes, but the circumstances can be different. So you don't have to have a DNR, but if you know that you don't want blood transfusions, you don't want a feeding tube, you don't want, but you need to make sure that you get somebody who's making those decisions to get a second opinion, because I know somebody who was in a coma and they lived for 17 years afterwards. So again, you don't want to just say, I don't want my life saved, I don't want a cold blue for them to be pressing on my chest. Well, if you have breast cancer and you know that you're in stage 4, and you may want to have a DNR because of them pressing on your chest is way more extensive than doing it. It's just not an advantage. But if you know that you code blue and you have healthy organs, of course you want them to save your life. So I'm saying be very careful about the DNR and make sure that you have talked to whoever's going to be your power of attorney, medical power of attorney, about whether that's something you want. Anybody have any questions about the DNR? All right, y'all got quiet on me. Y'all ready to go home now? All right, so we have talked about really everything I had. And look at that, I got 5 minutes to stay.
I wish she had changed, because this would have been valuable information for her.
But you gonna tell me.
Because I'm telling you
Everything.
But you know what? It's hard sometimes when your daughter knows what she's saying, talking about, but they don't want to receive it.
Well, you're gonna go ahead and get them bottles of medicine, start typing it up anyway. Put it on the fridge. I'm just telling you, you're gonna really appreciate it.
Okay.
So some of this you can do. Now then take her on to the bank and let her go ahead and fill out that PLD. Now don't be mad if you're not the beneficiary. Just let her go do what she wanna do. I'm just telling you, sometimes you do have to take it. You just gotta lead them on. Because this information I'm telling y'all, it's gonna save you. You're gonna say, ooh, I remember Judge Nash told me that. Ooh, that's so good. I'm telling y'all gonna say, man, that's good. That didn't save me a whole lot of money. So that's what I want you to do, is save the money, and I don't want to hear the excuses of why you don't.
Yes,
because I'm showing you how you can.
Right.
Okay.
But I had a regular question that she had.
Okay.
Asked me, but you covered it.
I did well.
You did.
Awesome.
I will.
Be a great Zoom workshop.
All right, you want to do it on Zoom too? Zoom it, mommy. You know the pandemic over.
Now, I got 2 or 3 questions. She said, if the deed to her property transferred to one of her children, okay? Well, no, not that one. You answered that one.
Okay.
You answered that one, okay. Regarding a couple that's not married,
Okay.
they common law,
Okay.
and they live together, one of them passed.
Common law, what's common law?
Common law is not married.
It's not married.
Yeah.
That's the definition.
They just.
You gotta see.
But what, the common law is a legal term, y'all know that, right?
Yeah,
So,
right.
let me just tell y'all, when y'all consider common law, it has to be 1, you agree to say you married. 2, you file taxes together, so you're holding yourself out as married.
Wow.
And you're residing together. So it's gotta be some things that are, it has to be actions that you take that significantly suggest, it's not easy to say, we common law married, because I've heard that argument before, but I want to see some that shows the common law marriage. So, again, I know people say we common law, but that don't necessarily mean that you won't be able to get that house.
That was the question. She wanted to know, you're right, I'm glad you explained that to me. She wanted to know, God forbid anything was to happen to her, would he be able to stay in the property? In the house, right?
Her heirs can fight that. I've seen it 3 or 4 times. Common law, we live together, we've been together for 10 years. But what do I have to say? There's nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't have a will that leads it, you don't have a transfer that leads. It's
taxes
raining.
together.
Show now, she want him to have that house, you have a feel of that.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
If you have, like, if you have your, home go into a trust, would you still have to go through probate?
So the trust is a little different, so a lot of people ask about trust, I don't really do trust that much. But a trust is where people are going toward that a lot, because what happens is the trustee gets to then, you can get money from your trust while you're alive, it can pay whoever you want it to pay, you can design a trust however you want, and it has good tax benefits. So a lot of people are doing trust. It's just that, you know, the trustee has to be a person you trust, and it has, sometimes it's a bank, and then they charge you. So it's not, again, I always look at things like, I'm smile heels, and I want to find something that's advantageous, but I ain't trying to, you know, pay somebody a lot of money to be monitoring a trust, because it has to be monitored, and you want to make sure that trustee is bonded, so, you know, it's always somebody like that. But you can't just say, okay, you can say she'll be your trustee, but you want to make sure that she has to do an accounting. It's more to having a trustee. But it can be very good for tax benefits, and especially when you have minors and you want to divvy out the money instead of, you know, giving money to somebody in college or a young child that can blow through it. So it kind of divides it out in a certain thing and think this has to happen before this. You got to graduate high school before this. So they monitor it. And you have to pay that person, because that ain't just, yeah, it ain't something your cousin gonna want to do for free. If it's being done right.
I want to ask you something that she had just mentioned
Yes.
about having a person in your life. I always thought, and people always said, that if someone lives in your home for a certain length of time, and if their shoes there, their socks there, their clothes there, you can't put them out.
After 30 days, you won't have to do an eviction.
Okay, so
So if a person is living there more than 30 days, because 30 days is established residence. So if you live somewhere, just say you move to Florida and you go to Jacksonville for 30 days, you better be getting a license, because if the police pull you over and you still got your Texas license, you know, let me say the reverse. In Texas, if you've lived here for 30 days and you say, oh, now I live on Tioga Street, and they're like, well, why your address say this? They write you a ticket because you have failed to change your address. You have 30 days. So if somebody's living in your home and you want to uninvite them, now I have two positions, and I will tell you my unofficial. So judicial action needs to take place just to keep the peace and do what you need to do. So you really need to evict anybody who's been in your house 30 days. Now, if you got this adult kid and they don't pay rent, okay, and then they, you no longer want them to be there, I will tell you, I don't see anything in the law that prevents you from changing the law. I just don't. And what happens is when they call the police is going to say it's a civil matter, and they're going to say you got to go to court. Now, they may let them back in because the person says, well, here go my license, and it got Tioga on there, and then there you go, they live there. So again, judicial process is the best way to do those, but sometimes you can just say, John, peace out, gotta go, been here too long, you got 3 days. But if you gotta do judicial action, just make sure you give them that 3-day notice to vacate, put it on the door, front door, back door, room door, take a picture of it, so you can say, see Judge Nash? And then I'm saying, ooh, that's sufficient, check. And then you say, John, okay, check. So you want possession? Yes, check. John will see you. I need you to get your things out within 6 days.
Bye.
Okay? I got you. Tell him she called. All right, thank y'all. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Awesome, awesome.